welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty, and I just recorded an entire episode without the microphone plugged in. That's not the worst thing that I've done since podcasting, but geez, like if that wasn't a sad realization when I listened back to the audio and it just wasn't there. So yeah, there's that. Other than that little hiccup, it's been a pretty nice week. I've been to the beach many times. It's been kind of the most relaxation that I've had in a long time. I haven't really done very much. I've been kind of just trying to take it easy. I've been wanting to slow down a bit and kind of get back to myself. It's always so important that, when life is just happening around us, sometimes we get just caught up in the whirlwind of it and we kind of just keep on spinning around. And sometimes it's good to just step back, take a break, slow down a little bit, breathe, and get back to yourself and just unwind a little bit. So that's been really nice. Hope y'all have had some time and some experience to do that as well. Some removal from social media is also, I think it's been something that I've been doing like on and off a lot since this quarantine started. It's just, there's just so much on social media that can cause disruptions in just how you're feeling and what's going on. So stepping away from even those things can be so good. But beach time definitely helps all the time. Great weather. It's been really beautiful out, so been enjoying that. But anyway, hope life has been going well for all of you. I don't get to really hear your responses to all of it, but I really do hope all of you are doing well. But I'm going to try to get this episode going because it's just me and it's not always fun to listen to me. My Nana actually told me that, my grandmother, for those of you who don't know that Nana, my grandmother actually told me that she listens to my podcast when she's like about to go to bed. And I like think about that. I was like, oh wow, thank you, Nana. But then I realized I was like, oh, she's saying like it's my voice like puts her to sleep in that way. And it's not the first time I've heard that. So I'm gonna try not to put you to sleep with this podcast. Um, Got this box here, shook it up. Like I said, I already recorded a full episode, so I already drew the topic for that. And that topic is stress. Stress is something that we all have to deal with some point or another, whether it's stress in a situation, stress in a relationship, stress just in some kind of life circumstance. We have to deal with it. So what is it telling us? Why is it there? What is it telling us about ourselves and our environment and the people and things that we surround ourselves with? And how can we try to avoid it or try to remove some of it from our lives? And I think that's something that we all kind of try to work with at some point or another. So I think that would be a good topic, and where we go with it, who knows. So anyway, today's topic is going to be on herbal medicines, and I think last time I referred to as herbal remedies, but remedies I think of as like completely remedying a situation, like fixing it and making it like no longer a problem. But I mean, some plant medicines may do that, just like some medicines, prescription medicines may do that. But in general, most medicines they work to alleviate some of the symptoms, and sometimes it doesn't alleviate the whole thing. So maybe they're used as adjuncts. So anyway, I thought medicines was something that was more encapsulating towards like a bigger picture idea of just what this topic was really about. And this episode is going to be probably shorter than usual just because I really wanted to get someone that specialized in plant medicines or at least had like a lot of experience with that. And although I've reached out to a lot of people, I haven't gotten the feedback or like the definite answer as far as just wanting to speak about it. So that's so up in the air about that. I've been wanting to get this going for a while, but I understand people's schedules are kind of all over the place right now. So that's something that to look forward to. It's probably going to be in a follow-up episode that's a little bit longer than this, but I really wanted to kind of give some more specific insight on just some of the plant medicines and things like that that maybe are more popular for situations that many of us deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I don't want to just like go on the internet and like give out like unsolicited medical advice. Like I just love doing that, but not this time. I didn't want to do it this time, but it's something that I really want to get someone on and kind of speak about more thoroughly and more in depth. But today I just wanted to get some basics out because as I was doing some research, I wrote pages and pages of notes on this stuff, but as I was doing my research, there is so much that like I didn't even know about plant medicine. And although like the whole idea of plant medicine is kind of new to me. I moved to Northern California about 5 years ago, and it's started opening my eyes towards a lot of these alternatives, like these alternative medicines. And this area fortunately has a community that is, just really big into plant medicines, and has a lot of shops and things like that where I can go down to the store and find these like, great herbal roots that are going to like help to alleviate some kind of, pain that I'm having in some part of my body. So it's really, access to it is very easy. So there was just like a lot of knowledge that started coming to me, and I'm still learning so much as I'm looking at plant medicines and looking up new things when I'm, maybe experiencing certain symptoms. But either way, it's all new to me. And as I was doing research, there were a few things that like started sticking out to me as far as just what I thought was really interesting to know, and just new information to me. And again, like this topic is so big. Like plant medicine is just as vast as, pharmaceutical medicines. It's people spend years and years and years practicing and studying and researching this stuff. So it's really just like so vast. But I don't know, I love having the option to know about this stuff and know that there are alternatives. And something I want to say from the beginning is that I don't want this to seem like I'm pushing away from pharmaceutical drugs at all, or trying to push you into like not wanting to take, Tylenols or things like that, but more or less just saying that there are alternatives that people have been using for centuries, to alleviate or cure certain ailments. And it's just more or less like, as we start discovering it more, as we start becoming more knowledgeable of that, we have more power to make those decisions for ourselves of what we want to, consume to help us in whatever ways. I mean, if it's for us, we should be able to have as much information as to what we can do for ourselves, right? So, anyway, that's kind of what I want to say. I don't want to make anyone that is taking medications, because there are people I know and love that are alive today and continue to stay alive and well because of the pharmaceutical medications that they're on. And I wouldn't say, hey, stop taking that and start switching to plants. But, like that's something that I don't want to push on or make it seem like I'm pushing on in that way. But the big thing with plant medicine, just like pharmaceutical medications, it's to alleviate our physical pains, to help us physically, and, maintain our physical health in that way. And that's important because our physical health translates to our mental health as well. Like, you're not gonna have a headache or a stomach pain or be super hungover and think, wow, like this was a super awesome day, like I'm having the best time of my life, while you're hugging a toilet and throwing up. Like, it's not going to happen that way. So there is this translation that happens between our physical well-being and our mental well-being. So that's just like the biggest topic with all of this. It's like, whatever medicine you choose to take for yourself, do that just knowing that you're not only helping your physical pain, but you're also helping you get into a better mental state as well, because it's so important, like, to recognize that that relationship does exist. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with that. And, you pick your poison of what you want to choose to pick for yourself. And maybe I shouldn't have said pick your poison, but you pick whatever you decide for yourself. And that's kind of what I want to just start off with saying before I go into this. But there are so many plants out there, so many plant medicines out there, and there are cultures, again, like, that have been using these things for centuries. And although Western medicines have like started to modernize like the use of pills and things like that, there are still so many cultures that utilize plant medicines as their main source of medicine and healing. So when I was looking this up, I realized that there are two different types of kind of categories for these plants to go in. One of the categories is tonics, and the other category is specifics. So tonics and specifics are these two different types of categories that these medicines are being used in. And it's more of a usage factor rather than an actual categorical factor. So for specifics, it's more or less like, if you have a headache, if you have a stomach pain, you're going to take this herb when that happens, and it's only going to be for a short period of time while you're experiencing that problem. And the tonic, on the other hand, is something that's used for a long period of time, and something that is like for your entire body or for like specific organs. So like, if you have like liver pains or liver damage, like, you may be using a certain tonic for months and months to help with that problem that you're having. So it's not necessarily that these herbs or whatever you're using has those specific properties, like you can only use it for a headache and that's it. But it's more or less like the duration that you're using it. So they may have both properties in them of a specific or a tonic. So that's just something to keep in mind. I thought that was super interesting because I always thought of a tonic as, like just I guess some sort of mixture of something, like usually like a liquid mixture. But I guess like really it's more or less like a duration of time frame. And I don't know if I mentioned this story before, but it was about that guy that I met in Costa Rica. He was an indigenous person from a Bribri village, and he was diagnosed with cancer. He was feeling really ill, and again, maybe you remember me telling this story, but he was feeling really ill, and for a while, and he went to the hospital that was in town because again, he lived in this isolated village of his Bribri people, like his indigenous people, and they didn't really associate with like the modern world that much. So he went to town to get a diagnosis, to get some kind of checkup to figure out what his pain was being caused by. The doctors told him he had like late stage cancer, that he only had a few months to live. They were saying that he can stay on chemo and do like that, all that stuff in the hospitals, but essentially he was going to die. So he was like, I'm not going to die here. I'm not going to die in this hospital around these people that I don't know, and not around like my people. So he went back to his village, and instead of just kind of like rolling over and letting it happen, he started creating this, I guess, a tonic. Now that I know that it's in those categories, I guess he created this tonic out of like the root from this plant and like the bark from some tree and obviously some like other things, and he took this for months. And after a while, I think it was like 2 years later, so far after the doctors had estimated he was going to die, he went back to town. He went back into the town and got just a checkup to see if everything was okay. I mean, he was feeling fine. Obviously, he lived longer than expected, and the doctor said his cancer was gone. They were saying there must have been some mistake in his original scans, but that he had no cancer, no signs of cancer. And I mean, that story amazed me. And like, this is some man, he was like 86 years old. He looked like maybe he was in his 60s. He said his father lived until he was like 130 something years old. And these are indigenous people that are living off plant medicines. They're living off the land, and they're living until these ages that many people, even in modern culture, aren't really living to. So it kind of just opened my eyes to like, wow, plant medicine, like just certain things that nature provides can be something that's so healing for people. And it wasn't like they didn't drink alcohol either, because they actually made this like corn liquor that was the strongest alcohol that I've ever had. They gave us like a little, like maybe a shot and a half in this little glass, and it wasn't like a shot glass, it was like a little cup. And just that small amount gave me the craziest buzz. Like, it was insane. But so I mean, like, it's not that they don't drink or anything like that, but there's something within the things that they're using for themselves to heal themselves, to live by, that's allowing this extended life. And I'm not saying that everyone lives until they're like 130, 140 years old in that village, but this is just something to take note, something that I took note of, and just seeing the people and how they interact and what they do. And it just brings so much like awness to like the possibilities of what can be provided just like around us and in the plants around us. So most importantly, when kind of thinking about this idea, is that like, don't just randomly pull up some roots from a tree and like peel the bark of something and like think that you're creating something amazing. Like, make sure you're well informed of what you're actually putting into your body, because I mean, like, plants are medicinal, and with that medicine they are interacting with your body chemistry, so be aware of that. Like, there are just so many things that like just to keep in mind as you're thinking about these things. I mean, like, research it for yourself, because there's so much information out there from doctors and people that have studied this for years that can give you the right amount of information for how much to take, and what to take, and what to take it for, and how long to take it for. So make sure you know all that stuff, and it's just important to kind of like keep that in mind again as you're putting things into your body. And yeah, there are a few things that I actually like looked up that I guess made sense. And as I started thinking about my experience and my plant moving into plant medicines in certain degrees, I've definitely violated a few of these warnings that probably could have caused me some like heartache if I had done it too much. But one is like, just knowing that first off, it's going to take a while in some cases for these plants to start seeing, like, for these plants to start causing positive effects in your body. So that's just something that like we always want to fast track it. And being in a culture that's been raised around pharmaceutical drugs and drugs that kind of work in that faster rate, we may be more inclined to think that the plants are going to work faster. Like, there, I used to get these bad tonsil infections like every year, and there was one year that I tried to kind of go this more alternative medicine route, and instead of getting like steroids and medicines and stuff like that, so I like made turmeric and like black pepper and like mixed all this together along with some other things, and I was just in so much pain for about a week and a half, like just so much pain. Whereas in like if I took this medicine, it probably would have been gone in like 3 days. But I didn't want to go to the doctor. I didn't want to have to deal with that. I knew what it was because I have to deal with it every single year. For the most part, it hasn't happened in a few years now. But anyway, I decided to do that, and I was just so pissed off. I was looking back on the internet. I was like, how to make this work faster? And I mean, it's just, like that's just that's the culture that we kind of live in. So just know that if you are kind of switching to this more herbal medicine type of route, just know that some of these medicines may take a little bit longer. And also start with low doses. Something I did to try to make it happen faster, I would take high doses of it. I'd like drown this drink in turmeric, like get an entire fucking head of garlic and crush it up and eat it. And it's just like kind of doing too much, and your body's going to react to it in a corresponding way. It's going to be kind of just too much for the body. So take low doses, figure out like making sure like you don't have any allergic reactions. Like fortunately, the stuff that I've taken, I didn't have any allergic reactions to it, but you're putting plants into your body, and there's so many people that are allergic to plants and certain things. And some of the modern medicine that we have now kind of extracts all of that, like all the histamines and things out of it that's going to cause you to react negatively. I mean, of course, there are still side effects of like itching and rashes and stuff that can be caused from medications, but same thing happens with plants. So take small doses and kind of just like figure out how your body's reacting to it. Um, and also just like buy quality products. I mean, there are so many things to keep in mind as you're thinking about moving towards like plant medicine and stuff like that. But buying quality products is just like buying like organic foods and whatever that is. It's like you're going to get better quality out of things that are, sustainably harvested and made and things like that. Like the water that's being put into these plants, like the soil that the plants are being grown out of, all these are factors that go into the quality of the medicine that's going to come from it. So I mean, obviously like this stuff is, it seems like kind of obvious in many ways, but as I was reading it, I was like, oh shit, like, I always try to go for the most economically, sustainable one for me, but then I realized that I may not be getting the best quality. So that's just something that we have to keep in mind. If it's like something for preventative measures, then you can go to like Costco or Whole Foods or whatever else and get some like organic turmeric or something like that, and that'd be fine. Whereas you don't have to get like turmeric root from some organic site elsewhere. There are definitely alternatives, but if you're really wanting to make it like a strong, potent medicine, then maybe paying a little bit more for that like ethically sourced and like the quality is going to be good kind of thing. I mean, that could be worth the investment. So again, there's a lot to this. There are a lot of plants that are out there that we can kind of speak about, but there are so many that we also have used or consumed that many of us may not even notice have plant medicines. And some of these, I'm just going to list these off because these were ones that I guess I've maybe used before, but also some that I haven't even heard of. So ginseng, that's something popular in energy drinks. If you've had an energy drink, you've probably had ginseng. It boosts your energy. There's a plant called bilberry. It's to improve circulation. There's garlic, many people know about. Green tea, milk thistle, turmeric, like I spoke of again before. Echinacea, I have a tincture of echinacea actually in my bathroom right now, and it's supposed to help boost your immune system. So they're just like, I mean, the list really goes on and on. Ginger is another thing. I mean, I don't have ginger in my fridge right now, but I love making ginger tea. Like, if you ever want to make ginger tea, like you're feeling ill or it's just like cold outside and the cold, like the flu is going around or whatever it is, make some ginger tea. You just cut up some ginger, boil it in the water, and let it sit there for like 20 minutes boiling, and you have yourself a nice ginger tea. You can mix it with regular tea and kind of just have it as like an accent, because ginger is very spicy when you extract it, but it's so good for you, and there's so many different things you can use it for: nausea, vomiting, indigestion. When I was looking this up, or the benefits of ginger, I was thinking, I was like, wow, this sounds like Pepto-Bismol. But I mean, ginger is like an organic Pepto-Bismol. Pepto-Bismol always like freaked me out because I was like, this is just the craziest pink fluid that it was never really appealing to me. But ginger, if you're not a Pepto-Bismol fan either, that's definitely an alternative. But again, there are so many plants. I mean, there are more plants than I can probably fit in this notebook that I have that have medicinal properties, but look them up yourself if you're dealing with something, or want to see if there is a plant alternative to that kind of thing that you're dealing with. Then look that up, research that yourself. There's tons and tons of information out there. And I guess one of the other things that I wanted to bring up was the actual method for extracting a lot of these medical benefits from these plants. And this was something I didn't really know, because the only thing I was really aware of were tinctures and like the extraction method in that way. But there are ways that we've extracted medicines from plants that we've all done in some kind of way. There's there are four main extraction methods. I'm going to start here. There are four main extraction methods: infusion, decoction, tincture, and maceration. And infusion is something that we've all done. Like I was saying, we've all done this kind of type of thing. If you've drank tea or made tea for yourself, that is an infusion extraction method. So you have an herbal tea in a tea bag, you put it in hot water, and then your water starts changing to the color, obviously, of whatever the tea is making it. That's infusion. You're infusing and taking out all of those medical properties or the medicinal properties of those herbs and spices in that tea bag, and infusing it into the water, and you're drinking it and consuming it that way. So that's one method of extraction. Another one, decoction, and that's boiling the herb or vegetable in the water, like I was saying with the ginger root. And this is for plants that have like a hardier type of resistance to extracting. So like a root vegetable is going to have a harder time extracting it than like a a lavender plant or something, because they're very different. The other type of extraction method is tincture, and that's something that I was introduced to when I first came to where I live now. And I mean, I guess it's like very popular, but tincture is basically an extraction method using alcohol or alcohol and water, and it's basically putting the herbs and the alcohol in a jar together and having it sit for weeks or even months to extract all the herbs out of it. And tinctures are actually interesting to make. I guess you can kind of have a little party while you're making the tincture itself, because what you're going to need is obviously the herbs and spices or whatever you're going to make inside of the herbal mixture that you're doing. Put that all inside of a jar. Take 40% vodka or whatever alcohol of your choice. I've heard of people using Everclear and like moonshine and stuff like that. So you put all the herbs and spices inside of a mason jar. You put the vodka or alcohol that you're using inside the mason jar, and you want it to sit about 2 inches above the herbs that you put in there. So you fill the mason jar halfway with herbs and spices. Now you put the alcohol in there, and you want the alcohol to sit about 2 inches above where the line is for the herbs. And some of the herbs, if they're dried, they may absorb the alcohol, so you want to add more. But you basically just sit it there and let it extract for like 2 weeks. And every day you're going to shake it about twice a day. And that shaking kind of just like helps to obviously extract more of the medicinal properties out of it. But after a few weeks or a few months, you have a tincture that can, depending on how big that jar was, it can last you quite a while. And tinctures are, fairly strong. And apparently the alcohol that's used in the tincture also helps to kind of get it through your body and your bloodstream a lot faster. So that's a great extraction method if you're ever interested in that. So the last extraction method is maceration, and that's basically just putting the plant inside of a liquid, usually oil, and extracting it that way. It's for like softer plants, I think maybe like jasmine or lavender or something like that. You can put it inside of that and it'll extract the medicinal properties. And you don't want to heat it, because I'm assuming since it's a softer plant, again, this is all information that's news to me. So apparently I'm assuming since it's a softer plant, if you boil it or have a hot liquid solution, then it's going to burn off a lot of the medicinal properties that the plant may have. So that's a that's the last extraction method. So again, infusion, decoction, tincture, and maceration. And I mean, like, if you're interested in doing those, I think that any of those methods are ones that you'd probably have to come across if you're doing your research into creating your own tinctures. But again, there are so many shops and eBay and things like that that people are already creating these things, and for whatever kind of ailment you have, they may have tinctures or things that are already extracted for that purpose. But again, it comes into knowing where that source is coming from, knowing what you're putting into your body, because you can't exactly just trust everyone to give you quality products. I mean, people are trying to make money, so know that paying a little bit more may be the best thing for your interest. And 9 times out of 10, creating your own is going to be the cheapest way. Buy the fruits or the herbs or whatever it is in bulk, and then create those tinctures yourself. Get a bunch of labelers, get a bunch of mason jar, and yeah, start that process. But like I said, I really wanted to get someone that had a little bit more knowledge about this stuff on this episode, but that can be something that comes in a follow-up episode, so expect that to happen. If you have any experience making any of these type of herbal medicines or anything like that, and you want to share that, send those to everything.sunpodcast at g send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send any topic ideas that you may have that you want to see go into the box, or hear go into the box, because you won't be seeing it. You can join the Instagram page at everything.sunpodcast. I don't know why I keep saying podcast. You can join the Instagram page at everything.sunpodcast, or the Twitter page at everysunpodcast, or you can join the Facebook group at Everything Under the Sun with Ty. And that's all I got. Love you all. Enjoy life, and I'll see you next time.